creating the mighty salt deposit that was eventually...
Exchange forgiveness with me, noble...
Come on, hey, get your boy, man! What now? Shit! That was horse shit! No! Are you mad yet? Grind him!
Out.
Cax pumping. One of the best pop-ups I've seen, man. Look at that jumping out of his chair. Yeah, baby, talk to him, talk to him.
And there it is! Oh, the chair!
Unfortunate for Larry in that set where he went for that down air earlier trying to like hit an air dodge that was too early. Cosmos just... Bro, he can dance. Good stuff. God. do the pose, Larry. Do the pose. Let's go! Let's go back. Let's go!
Shit fucking player, dude. Shit fucking player, dude. Shittiest fucking player I've ever fucking seen in my whole fucking life.
It's gonna be a trade, and Light actually wins the trade. It's a TBC moment. Oh my god. Whoa, no. Can't do this to me. The crowd goes absolutely.
Juicy! Juicy!
Let's go! Let's go! Your CEO champion, Cola! The well-deserved pop-off, the F-Pass baby!
Search up competitive Smash on YouTube, and some of the most viral and talked about moments are not even within the confines of the game itself. There's probably very few people who could tell you all the details of Hungrybox vs Cody Schwab at GOML 2022, but the reverse pop-off that followed it was a viral moment. And while moments like these make for pretty entertaining clips, some spectators may be left questioning why a video game of all things could provoke such a strong reaction out of its players. Emotional investment depends entirely on what's at stake. A man walking a tightrope across two buildings has literal do-or-die implications. It touches our primal sense of self-preservation, and doesn't take much more context for both the tightrope walker and the audience to understand that this situation is incredibly high stakes. But what's at stake doesn't necessarily have to be life or death. You just need to convince an audience why it matters. Narratives are the stories players and audiences construct to add stakes to what's happening on the screen. Maybe you and the player you're watching both have a shared sense of regional pride, and what's happening is a turf war against a rival region. Or perhaps, a player has overcome hardships in their life to attain the skills that they have, and their personal story resonates with an audience. Once we start to tell ourselves these stories, the game of Smash becomes something bigger. It's no longer just a simple tournament. It's now a spectacle, with heroes, villains, rivalries, and emotional catharsis when a big moment happens.
Opsa did it! Opsa did it! The first time in history Opsa wins a Super Major, the hardest tournament we've ever seen in 22 years!
In competition, there's an interesting interplay between participant and spectator. It is the participant's job to set the stakes and convince the audience why they should care. It is then the audience's role to take this narrative and amplify it. You can keep it strictly business, focusing the narrative around what's happening on the screen. For example, a player can pull off a cool combo, and the audience can react with excitement. But there is a separate art to raising the stakes, one that relies on the more human side of things. An emotional reaction from a player is in many ways an implicit invitation to the audience. I really care about what just happened, and so should you. Get the context right, and the emotional weight of a moment can be genuinely electric, or dare I say, hype. But not all moments land equally. Read the room wrong and you risk confusing the audience, which can take them right out of the moment, or God forbid, even have them label you as cringe.
Ooh, and there's the
There's a planned pop off.
there is the
I'm glad that camera's not facing him because I didn't like any of that.
This is the tightrope that competitive Smash Bros needs to walk. With a concept as absurd as investing yourself into a video game where cartoon characters fight each other, it's up to the Smash community to convince onlookers that the world of competitive Smash is worth caring about. Player emotion has consistently been one of the most powerful tools in drawing attention to the scene and its players.
To see players getting hype and excited or getting really upset when they lose, why is that bad? I love that shit. Yeah, of course there's a level of cringe to it, but god damn it, that's what makes it so fucking fun to get invested in.
But clearly, not all attention is good attention. So when do these moments boost the narrative, and when do they undermine it? Said differently, how can players use emotions to raise the stakes?
Are you ready to battle, ass?
My name is Ash.
Surprise her because it's like, oh,
Doesn't catch the stitch.
Oh, and then oh my god, and then he taunted in real life at that.
Mindset and morale have been psychologically proven to affect performance. Maintain confidence and you can punch above your weight, but get in the wrong headspace and you'll be fighting an uphill battle. Players who are okay with dabbling in the dark arts of psychology can utilize this trick to their advantage. A taunt is an insulting gesture or remark that's intended to provoke anger or demoralize an opposing party. The idea of inflicting mental damage is not a new one. In fact, it's a pretty common strategy seen even in the animal kingdom. Competitive gaming is no exception. Incredible focus is needed to pull off tight input sequences and adapt to different patterns and strategies employed by an opposing player. If you can throw an opponent off their game, then it can turn the tides hugely in your favor. Smash's developers understood this, even going out of their way to include a dedicated taunt mechanic. With the click of a button, your character can mock the opponent mid-match. But if one chooses to engage with the competitive side of Smash, then it raises an interesting question. With Smash tournaments being a primarily face-to-face affair, why taunt in the game when you can taunt your opponent in real life? In many ways, human interaction disincentivizes players from taunting, as they will have to deal with any real-world consequences of trying to enact mental warfare on their opponent.
What? No, actually, fuck like fat nuts.
We're having a bit of an altercation here.
And that's exactly what makes it interesting. Not only do the social stakes become real, but it also introduces a new dimension to the game. Because while a peacock may open its feathers to intimidate, it's also doing so in the name of showmanship. At Genesis X3, players Ratmonster and Zane would meet in winner's top 16 of the bracket. While Zane was the undisputed #1 player at the time, he had shown some vulnerability to the up-and-comer Ratmonster in various exhibitions. Genesis would feature their first high-stakes tournament set. And almost immediately, Ratmonster would land an insanely disrespectful combo sequence and flaunt to the crowd.
Zane having a hard time KOing right now, and this is a lot of juicy percent.
No way, dude.
No way! There's no way! And he gets off the chair to show the crowd. Call it.
This moment was a declaration to Zane. You may be the #1 player, but I'm not afraid of you. Those exhibitions weren't flukes. And not only am I gonna beat you in this tournament, but I'm also gonna embarrass you in front of everyone.
When I did it, I was just like, who cares if this misses? I just want to scare him.
This little interaction defined the tone for the entire set, which Ratmonster would take 3-1. Not only did the taunt land mental damage onto Zane, but it simultaneously won over the audience, who saw the taunt as a bold move in this David vs. Goliath set. But like all dark arts, taunting comes with a trade-off. Leaving yourself so vulnerable puts you in a prime position to lose. Throwing it out and then failing to deliver risks making you look like a clown.
from Emu Killer, my goodness.
Well, he even popped off a little bit. I was like, does he know it's over? But it's not over at all. And now Pink Fresh like, you trying to pop off on me?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
This is the aspect of taunting that raises the stakes. You know there's an in-game and in-person risk to showboating on your opponent, yet you're so confident that you're gonna do it anyways. But without the proper skill to back it up, taunting loses that tension. Taunting a player who's actively destroying you sort of defeats the purpose. Instead of a bold proclamation, it's an admission of defeat. You're losing so badly that you're no longer interested in trying. This also applies to the reverse. While it takes guts to taunt a player of better and/or equal skill level, taunting a much weaker player can be seen as overly cruel. The game itself is already more than happy to let them know that they're losing. You're just kicking them when they're down. But this is all while the game is being actively played. What if you manage to carry it all the way to the finish line? Competition is hard, and a level of emotional catharsis for winning is often in order. Smash's answer is through a win screen, where your player character does a victory pose. But once again, you can take this feature of the game off the screen and into real life.
Is your smash?
Pop-offs deliver on the limitations of a win screen. While Smash's victory poses are all predetermined and only live inside the game, a pop-off can take into account the entire context around a match. Perhaps, the set goes to the absolute limit, and the tension of trying to close it out causes an explosive fight-or-flight reaction when it's finally over. Luigi's finger guns probably won't do the moment justice, and a hard pop-off can pull the audience into the emotional release that a player might be feeling. But what if your pop-off isn't meant to pull in the audience? Maybe it's in direct response to them.
Back. Oh, and that's it. Woo! That'll do it.
He's talking that shit.
Monkey shutting up the crowd right now.
Part of what makes fighting games unique is the environment that you're implicitly agreeing to play in. Unlike more sanitized spaces of competition, the scrappy nature of competitive fighting games introduces a very unique dimension to player and audience interplay. Tournaments give fans the opportunity to get right up and close to the action, and in a way, even participate in the spectacle. It's not uncommon for spectators to support their friends, or take it a step further and actively cheer against you.
Oh, boss, get the finger! Oh, you done fucked up! Get the finger, boss! You done fucked up!
Okay. Oh my god.
Hey, can we get the camera back on this?
Should we really?
Yeah, of course.
Rowdy crowds and light heckling are a long-established part of FGC culture, being generally accepted as long as it doesn't go too far.
Hey! Hey! Who the fuck threw this?
While many see it as part of the fun, for some players, the dynamic can be a bit difficult to acclimate to, but you're not helpless. If the audience is allowed to trash talk, it also means that you can then turn around and tell them exactly how you feel. At Genesis X2, DK aficionado Junebug would be heckled by players during a pool set against Chic player Omar. Junebug would accidentally SD 3 times in the set, and the crowd would cheer each time they did it. After clutching a nail-biter set, they'd turn around and face them directly.
Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. I'm sorry. I hit me 3 times, bro. Fuck you guys.
Let's fucking go, June. Let's fucking go.
Since Junebug was provoked and on the defensive the entire time, there's probably very few people who would say that the hecklers didn't receive some comeuppance. So when does a pop-off not land? Like the taunt, the pop-off only works when you finish your food.
And this is almost up till. Did I hear a pop up? No! He popped off! No! He did the thing! He did the thing that you're not supposed to do! Look at the fucking screen before you pop off!
In Lucky vs Dark Atma, Lucky found himself clutching a tense 2-1 victory. That at least would be the case if he did anything but celebrate too early and accidentally fall off the stage.
The other way, that's it!
And forget what I said.
What?
Oh no. Oh no.
Although hilarious in Smash cringe compilations, what could have been an incredible clutch moment was instead an ending that had all of its hype drained. By all means, Lucky had earned the win, but then threw it away due to negligence. It also puts into question Dark Atma's win, which is never a good feeling when you're a competitor. Situations where the battle doesn't feel hard fought may also not convince the audience that a pop-off is necessary. Steve player Jake would pop off hard against Ness player Gak to double down, but his pop-off would largely receive crickets from the audience.
What the hell? Not enough. What? That was the weaker house.
What's going on here?
Not only did he win 3-0 in a fairly convincing manner, but he did it using a controversial character that many in the Ultimate community think is cheap. The best pop-offs have one key thread holding them all together. If you want the crowd on your side, then the pop-off can't just come out of nowhere or be used too frequently. It has to come out of overcoming a real sense of conflict or adversity. Said slightly differently, it needs to feel earned. But every pop-off has an opposite force. because for every player screaming in victory, there exists a losing player on the other side.
I get it now! This is what it's like to be one and
Nobody likes losing, yet all but one player will end up losing in a Smash tournament. In Smash, there's a philosophy that players are typically expected to adhere to.
Please, no Johns.
John was an old school player who always had a justification whenever he lost. His name became synonymous with excuses, and the term no Johns essentially means to accept that a loss is a loss and show good sportsmanship. Under the no Johns philosophy, Smash is a competition, and players are allowed to do whatever is necessary to achieve a win.
That's the great thing about sports. You play to win.
But this kind of thinking can be a bit black and white. While winning in competition is important, the other purpose of playing Smash is to have fun. For many players, it's just a hobby, so there's a certain level of respect players should exhibit towards each other to foster healthy competition. This is especially the case in local tournaments, where prize pools are pretty low and community building is more the purpose. Just recently, a Melee player named Gio Is Hot was banned from New England tournaments. The reason was that his playstyle of camping the ledge and continuously timing people out with Jigglypuff was deemed so unfun to play against that it became a major issue worth addressing. Technically, his play was legal under the rule set, but he was pushing it. And just imagine coming off of a long day of work and driving an hour to your local to support the scene just to run into a player whose main goal is to waste your time. Still, even when pushed to the limit, most players in this situation can put aside their negative feelings and maintain a level of class. But others are not afraid to let the world know that they really didn't like losing.
Jeff going for that nana. God. Oh shit. Fuck. And I think Jeff won.
Gaming and internet culture has coined a term for this phenomenon. Salt, or being salty, describes feelings of bitterness, anger, or resentment one may have over a losing outcome. It's a term that's often used in a derogatory manner, but it is worth unpacking the emotions here. A player wouldn't be salty if they weren't equally invested. You could even make the argument that a player cares so much that they went out of their way to show it.
When I play Smash, I feel this intense hunger. It's everlasting and it just doesn't go away. So when I rage outside of the game, that's everything I wanted to express in game and I just couldn't do it. And then I take it out on everything else because I'm just frustrated.
With the right context, a salty moment might be able to draw in people and heighten the tension, even budding some rivalries between players. It's just like cooking. Food without salt tends to taste a bit bland. Adding the right amount can introduce some really nice flavor. So what are the different forms of salt? The simplest is the no handshake or fist bump.
I don't know, we're gonna get a handshake. Handshake! Shake his hand. Shake his hand.
Do it.
DP, shake his hand.
Come on,
shake
man.
His hand. Come on, bruh. Come on, bruh. Come on, bruh.
This is an acknowledgement to the other player that you either don't feel their win was earned or that you didn't enjoy playing them. If you happen to play somebody who you think is killing the vibes, the no handshake is a pretty safe and effective way to communicate that. Or you can take it a step further and change a non-verbal cue into a clear verbal statement.
Why the fuck did I miss?
And that'll do it.
I got lucky as fuck, man.
Oh dear.
Why the fuck would that miss? I got you.
Now, whether you're deemed a sore loser or justified in your salt will depend on if the audience agrees with your assessment. There's few people that would defend a tactic like stalling, as it's widely considered anti-fun and anti-competitive. But what about in situations that are less obvious, like losing a fair game to a character that you don't like? Even in situations where salt might be unwarranted, you can still make it entertaining. After all, a good hint of salt can make a dish more interesting. But add too much and you risk ruining the entire thing. This is where a player like Bobby Big Balls presents an interesting dichotomy. Take scenario 1. After losing in an online set to Meds, he asked Bobby why he chose to make a certain counter pick. The response was this.
Why would you go Pika? Meg! You're 30! Jesus! Just let me be me! God! All these fucking bitch-made Mark players, get the fuck out of my chat! Let me be miserable! I just lost, you piece of shit! And I lost your stupid ass fucking garbage Mark.
While definitely over the top, most people probably found this reaction to be pretty funny. Meds was definitely the instigator here. He could have just taken the W and left, but chose to go in and poke at the bear. And all the salt and trash talk doesn't stray too far away from the game. According to Bobby, Meds' biggest offense is that he plays Marth. Now compare it to Bobby versus Dial M, a 14-year-old Donkey Kong player who had been making waves in Melee for being a huge up-and-comer. Game 1 of the set starts with Dial M taking a huge lead. Bobby starts to get salty and makes comments about Donkey Kong.
Hey, playable now, guys? Yo, guys, I forgot, by the way. Yo, is DK playable?
But it doesn't take that long for this to quickly spiral into chaos. Bobby only gets angrier until the set conveniently disconnects right as Bobby is about to lose. After arguing back and forth about how to proceed, Bobby drops a line where he refers to Dial M's mother as well. I'm not gonna say that. And when the moderators tell him to play out the set, he swaps over to Jigglypuff and intentionally stalls in the air to drag out the set and waste everyone's time. The whole ordeal is a great example of salt gone way too far. Not only was the trash talk unprovoked and pretty mean-spirited, but Bobby's response is just anti-competitive. Rather than trying to make his point by being the better competitor, he just gives up, and instead tries to make sure that everyone involved is as miserable as possible. Academics and philosophers refer to this kind of display of behavior as a crash out, which has the unfavorable effect of sapping away the stakes completely. On that note, one way you could quickly raise the stakes is by taking your opponent and threatening to punch them in the face, which is why it's worth making a clear distinction. Attendants of Smash tournaments sign a social contract that they will not tangibly harm anyone. While controller spike compilations may be funny from the comfort of your PC, there's no faster way to zap the energy out of the room than by making someone fear for their life over a video game. Not only will it likely get you banned, but it commits the cardinal sin of taking everyone out of the moment and dropping them into the absurd reality of what they just witnessed.
Why would you do that with so many people watching?
Good narratives rely on maintaining the moment. Professional wrestling has a term for this. It's called Kayfabe, which describes the unspoken pact between performers and audiences to maintain the illusion of reality. On the contrary, esports are legitimate competition. There's nothing fake about them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that esports are devoid of theater. Somewhere along the way, gamers realize the uniqueness of competing in a medium where gamer tags are often preferred over real names. There's an opportunity to construct a persona that isn't necessarily acting, but does play into a different side of your identity.
I wouldn't say that I found myself in Smash, but I found a second self in Smash. Having this gamer tag and this alternate life and this alternate set of friends, this alternate set of goals allowed me to have an identity that was very different. In regular life, I'm actually, some people call me the most positive person they've met. I'm a very positive person, but in Smash, I'm arrogant. I'm arrogant and I can be condescending and I know what I want and I'm aggressive and forceful, and it's fun to have that second identity.
Pop off over a promotion at a grocery store and you'll likely get funny looks. But because performance is an accepted part of competition, Smash allows players an outlet to heighten their personalities if it serves the narrative. A masterclass in playing into Kayfabe would be Leffen vs. Chillin, which is perhaps one of the most famous beefs in all of competitive gaming. For a full breakdown of it, you can check out my section of it in the video I made about Melee upsets. But here's the short. In real life, Chillin has been known to be a pretty chill dude, but since his early days in Smash, he adopted the role of being a notorious trash talker, having even started the trend of Smash diss tracks all the way back in 2003. But he would meet his match with Leffen, one of Melee's best players who was also notorious for being incredibly outspoken. Leffen would throw out a shot directly at Chillin's sponsor for signing what he considered to be a washed player. This would escalate into a full-on show match at the Salty Suite, resulting in one of Melee's most viewed moments. The reason it worked is because both players knew how to raise the stakes and also stay in character. Leffen played the role of a heel through and through. Telling someone you deserve a sponsorship over them is pretty villainous behavior. Leffen was not afraid to own that, doubling down at every turn that he was the more skilled player than Chillin, and wasn't afraid to put it to the test. And at no point did Chillin back down from the challenge. Not only did he confidently accept the show match, but he played into the spectacle by leaning into his trash-talking persona, even going as far as writing and producing an entire diss track. Even in defeat, Chillin would humorously accept his loss and adhere to the punishment of losing his color. Yet once it was settled in Smash, the whole thing was wrapped up with a nice bow and the two players would promptly squash the beef. These players probably didn't actually hate each other. In fact, outside of Smash, they probably thought very little of each other. But when it was time to perform, the two played into the rivalry perfectly, making it really easy to invest yourself into the spectacle. Which presents an interesting dilemma. What if one player refuses to engage in the kayfabe? At Battle of BC8, Hungrybox and Moki would have a tense match in the losers finals of the bracket. Hbox would win the set, and after it was over, Moki would refuse a handshake, instead going for a fist bump, which was his way to communicate that he thought Hungrybox's play was lame.
I got lost to Hbox and got absolutely clapped, and I thought it was a lame-ish set, but that's fine. Ultimately, people can play how they play, and I have to deal with it, and I wasn't pissed in the moment. I was acknowledging, I'm like, this is really hard to play because he's just like spamming shield grab and circle camping me. But that's on me. I'm getting hit by it. I'm just shit, whatever. And then the fist bump. I go up to fist bump him, and I see his hand, and I'm just like, I think I just said, I laughed, and I said, I'm not shaking your hand for that, man. And then we fist bumped, and I walked away, and I made a tweet. It was a mean-ish tweet, a salty tweet, but I just said I lost in maybe the lamest ways possible, but I guess it works on me. The audacity to go for the handshake is insane there, though. No respect for playing like that, LMAO.
After the two confronted each other about it, Hungrybox would drop a line that is akin to something you'd expect to hear from Thanos.
And then he's just mad, and then I guess he looked at Zayn, and he said, I guess that's the price of winning. And I was just standing there, and I'm like, what the absolute fuck just happened?
While this dispute was over something that didn't really matter, fans and fellow players found the moment pretty polarizing, which presents an interesting case study. Hungrybox is known for being one of the most theatrical players in the game. He clearly sees the value in it, even attempting to broker salty sweets whenever beefs and tensions arise between players. But Moki didn't bite. Not only was he legitimately upset over the loss, but he even saw the whole thing as confusing and borderline unprofessional.
And I'm like, you know, the conversation could have just went, he's like, you know what? Fair enough. My bad. And then you know what I would have said? I would have said, I appreciate that. My bad as well. You know, good shit this weekend. But that isn't what happened.
It then becomes somewhat of a Rorschach test on how audiences might feel. But either way, Moki made it clear that he didn't want to be part of a performance. Another interesting example was in the recent rivalry between Zayn and Cody Schwab for the race to number 1. Despite Zayn giving Cody the invitation to add a little tension to their rivalry, Cody would continually reject it.
I don't think that I'm like naturally a person that shit talks a lot, but there have definitely been moments versus Cody where I feel like I felt the need to say something, and when I have done that, I feel like he doesn't reciprocate, and I wish there was a little more of that, because I don't know, I just feel like it does spice things up.
But even if the two played into it, it would be genuinely hard to believe that they had any real animosity towards each other when they would actively spar together for hours at a time. This rivalry was friendly, and it was strictly about who's the best melee player, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Cody vs Zayn was amazing for diehard melee fans who got to witness what is likely the pinnacle of melee gameplay, but for casual onlookers looking for more dramatic beats, it could ring a little dry. Hence why there's a common sentiment that melee in the modern day is less interesting than the player beefs of old. This then raises the question, does creating higher stakes require that players put on some kind of performance? Do you need something like a beef to make Smash interesting? Wrestlers have no choice. Everything they do is choreographed, meaning that if you're going to be invested in the fantasy, then they need to come up with some kind of good storyline and sell it. But the unscripted nature of Smash gives it a very distinct advantage. Since the stakes are real, a narrative can be formed around authentic player emotion. And while good performance is always appreciated, why give a performance when you could just be yourself? So what does a good authentic Smash narrative even look like? I'll present what I consider to be one of the best tournament sets of the year, but before getting into the details, let's first set the stakes. Kagaribi 15. Held in Chiba, Japan, this is the second largest Smash Ultimate tournament of all time, with nearly 3,000 entrants. In Ultimate, Japan is considered to be the strongest region. Not only do their players frequently travel to and win US tournaments, but the average skill level of a Japanese competitor is considered to be higher than anywhere else in the world. This has created a rivalry between Japan and the countries of North America, who are continuously battling for the honor of their home countries. A small group of US players would travel to Japan with the intent to prove their skill in what many would consider the hardest Smash Ultimate tournament of all time. One of these players is Cola, a top-level Roy player from Georgia who's known for fiercely aggressive play and performances, but he's also known to be inconsistent. Cola's last trip to Japan the year prior saw him get upset by Ball, a much lower-seeded player utilizing a low-tier character. Cola would end up drowning in pools shortly after. Despite a projected placement of top 20, he would end the tournament with a disappointing final placement of 257th. But this year, Cola was making a run. As one of the few players left representing his country, he has a chip on his shoulder and wants to prove to the world and himself that he belongs on top. He would make it into the top 32, fighting to survive on the loser side of the bracket. It's here where he would come face to face with Zackrey. Zackrey is one of Japan's most talented Smash players. He's frequently considered a prodigy, having been competing and winning major tournaments at a super young age, a few of those even being previous Kagaribi events. In the early days of Smash Ultimate, a 16-year-old Zackrey would be fighting for the title of best in the world, and in those early days, you could see the emotional toll that competing at such a high level could cause in such a young player. Even someone as skilled as Zackrey would suffer some incredibly tough losses, with one of the more notable ones being against MK Leo at Super Smash Con. After the match would go down to the wire, Zackrey would break down in tears after failing to close it out. But a long time has passed since 2019. Zackrey is now all grown up, and had changed a lot since those early Ultimate days. Not only did he present himself in a much more suave fashion, but his relationship with Smash was now much different. He'd pivoted into a career as a popular variety streamer in Japan, hosting a massive YouTube channel and treating competitive Smash in a more relaxed manner. He was no longer on the grind, and would only show up to select events. That being said, he's still one of the best to ever do it, and would frequently beat some of Japan's top-ranked players whenever he felt like showing up. Both of these players are fan favorites, but by the end of the set, only one of them will still be left in the tournament.
コーナーベルの時って本当にもう当たるぐらいしか確かにいないと思うんで、どうなんだろうな、対戦経験あるんですかね。はい、始めていきましょう。タクリロボット対するはコーラロイです。UGL から UN 大接続で今度が伸びてここが難しさこの持っているスカッシュガードですか。もう1回出した作るがこれは空中しろ空中前2回ですが、こちらもガーキャンから出してないコンボに対して敵に割り込んでうまい。いやーこれは気をつけない上極上分からなくなりますね。ですがどうする特殊で切りたいがうまい根元ほら気合入ってます。だいぶ展開塗り押しにはなりませんでしたが外で剣しっかり入れてます。シャキョ捕まえて前投げ空中しろ出さない判断か。いや早いですね判断。後ろ投げ選択上強に対しては若干軸をずらして返ってきました。ずらしている回避崖うまい。崖外というか崖回りのコーラの技術がめちゃくちゃ出てますね。難しいもはやマベコンもう怪しいぐらいまでありますね。確かに空中前なんとかそして攻撃かかり上そして B ホール空中から下強運んでダッシュ紙空下ギリギリ届かない下投げ埋めて上強これはベクトル変更がバッチリだ。空中へ移動回避もう1回パーセントが高すぎる重ねて回避相打ちマベ出し切った撃墜する作がだけでも迷いない走り出しでしたね今。そうですね。お前ならやってくるだろっていう感じの NB これは壁を張るコマがヒットしてコマが当たったのを確認して拾い直す空前先端ダウンになったマメコを拾ってくるオーラの角相打ちこれでよく展開が切れました。入れ替わって空中は撃墜にはならずここは外撃墜したいですね。コーラとしては読み上げなんとか勝利なんか手がから空中しろ崖離しこれはコーラももう無理だろう今度は3になる可能性もあり得るでしょう。外ベック確認基本的にロボットですね。はいそうですね。社長その向かいからマルカを選択それを受け入れただけでですが空前2回からダーツ1点選択後ろ根から空中しろ素直にいった回避は切るしかないがザクレといえばやはりこれ後ろ投げコマを拾って下投げから4個しま選択早めに切ります。空中への攻撃上がりこれはどうだ空中前を叩いた移動回が外れが出ない逆に振り切ってくるでこれ空中後ろとか積極的に振って崖展開を作っていく感じになってかなり小技を作るんですね。攻撃がリストの先は届かない転がりの展開ですが最初に切ったこれはマーベラスこれは撃墜ですね。空中に対して空前でしたね今のそのまま比較に捕まえて相打ちこれは崖狩りのセットアップにはなんとか間に合いそうだ。空中しろコマ空中しろ固めてくるダウンの展開追いかけてもう1回これは読んでる捕まえた前投げ
ここで倒してたりして
びっくりしろマーベコンタイミングをずらして下強に前手に合わせる形ダウンになった横強で撃墜だコーラも大きくポップオフコーラ喜びのあまり踊り始めました。
In an incredibly high-stakes set, Cola had just beaten one of the best Ultimate players to ever do it. Not only had he defended the pride of his country, but he put down all the people who didn't believe he had it in him. His fellow US competitors embrace him, and the Japanese spectators give him applause. And after a moment to breathe, Zachary and Cola shake hands in a moment of respect.
いやー、これは GC ですね。
お見事でした。両者ともに大きな拍手を全員で送りましょう。さあもう
Still in absolute elation, Cola runs off the screen to celebrate, but Zachary sits back down and begins to do something in front of the setup that's rarely ever seen in competitive Smash. Pure vulnerability as he starts to cry. This kind of reaction from Zachary hadn't been seen in years. He's been the cool, calm, collected player who can beat you without even trying, but in this brief moment, the persona falls apart as Zachary can't help but let his true feelings out. Nothing about what's happening is a performance. It's just two players deeply invested in Smash who aren't afraid to show it. Yet, the moment is beautiful. The audience is there for Cola, who has overcome some demons and continues to fight on in the bracket to defend his and his country's honor. But they're also there for Zachary. Despite how much he's changed, Zachary lets the audience know that deep down, he's still that same kid who loves Smash and still really cares about being a competitor. And when Zachary returns to the next tournament, everyone will be rooting for him. How could you not? With the player as invested as Zachary, the game is so much better with him there. Because like Zachary, we're all just kids trying to prove ourselves. Smash is just an outlet to do that.